I should place my yacht in the most desirable charter destination in the world today.
That is false. You should actually put your boat in a place where the demand is growing and grow with the demand.
Booking a charter through a charter broker will cost me more money than booking direct.
False.
If my charter was not executed flawlessly, I'm better equipped with someone like you by my side to address the situation. True or false?
True, 100%.
Hello and welcome to Full Displacement, the podcast by Current Yachts. Today, we are joined by Lisa Nichols, who is a yacht charter broker, and we're going to talk about some of the aspects that are very important if you are considering starting a yacht charter business. So with this, I also would like to welcome back Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, Marilyn and Lisa. Thanks for being here today.
Amanda and I have known Lisa for many years. In fact, we used to work together, and you have been a charter broker for many years and recently started your own company called Elite Catamaran Charters. Lisa, tell us a little bit more about you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I have been in the service industry for over 30 years, and most recently, my career has maneuvered into the charter industry and the marine industry, which I enjoy very much. I worked for one of the biggest three fleets in the BVI, which gave me a lot of internal experience working with many clients on a daily basis, getting to know the charter industry very well because of that. I recently moved out of working for one company only, and now I am able to pull charter boats from all the fleets all over the world. So it has opened up a whole bigger pool for me to be able to share with my clients.
And I can certainly vouch for how my clients who have bought boats absolutely love Lisa's service. The way she speaks to clients, the way she shares her enthusiasm of how great the charter is going to be is just wonderful. She really has a great way with her clients.
Thank you very much. Yes, my clients, they do communicate that with me as well, and built a nice clientele over the years. And I think that's part of being a successful charter broker is building trust with your clients, and they know you're looking out for their best interests and finding them the best boats for the best price.
I'll speak from the side of yacht charter ownership. When Lisa and I have done our business together, I have brought the owner of the boat, and she's actually working by booking that owner's boats. Now, of course, she's also speaking about the clients that she books on those boats. So she has really good experience with working with both sides, the owner and the actual client who books the boats.
This is true. And to the point where I would actually often go out and see the owner's boats so that I can go back to my clients and tell them how nice they are and the features that they have so that they, would be more interested in certain boats over others.
So the first part of our conversations today, again, we're going to serve both sides, right? Potential charter clients that want to book a yacht and go on a nice vacation. But we're really trying to provide max insights and value for those looking to buy a boat. And we're here to tell them what they should be doing, ideally, before they commit to this purchase. And the first thing that Amanda and I like to talk about, and you just touched on a little bit, is chartering before you buy. And part of that is, we have a lot of armchair sailors who dream about sailing and watch a lot of sailing channels and want to do the same thing and then have to get on a boat and start sailing. And the first step often is finding out if you and your family actually like boating and potentially the islands. Amanda, can you speak to that a little bit and perhaps your experience talking to folks at the boat show?
You'd actually be shocked for the amount of people that will buy a boat, put it into charter, and never have gone on a charter themselves. Never once experienced it, have no idea the thrill of being on a boat for a week, how much you relax, how much fun you have, the camaraderie with your friends or just your family. It is an amazing experience, and it is non-negotiable in my books that if you have never chartered before, you should really charter before you buy a charter boat.
And another aspect, too, that I recall from my time working for this program that you and I served, where, owners put a boat under management and then they derive potential tax benefits. And I remember for a few years, especially during COVID, a lot of boat buyers had never even been on the boat that they bought, let alone a sister ship. They've never even seen that model. And they just went ahead and bought the boat sight unseen, brand new, not really knowing what to expect. And so that's not necessarily what we recommend, but it definitely happened.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk for a second about those folks that are looking to do this. We've already recorded an episode with Patrick Worley from the Worley Group about things you should know before you commit to this purchase and prepare for it. So we highly recommend that you speak to your CPA, a marine attorney whose specialty is to arrange for these things to be done properly. We're certainly not the expert to do that, but we can guide you because there's so many aspects that are super important. For instance, the exit strategy. A lot of people don't want to hear how you should plan your exit before you even buy, but very critical. So again, refer to this episode. We're going to link to it up here. And in the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Amanda, about those who've kind of decided to go that route and now have to make a decision about what kind of boat they might buy and where it might go to be placed in a charter program. What sort of questions are you trying to answer when you qualify buyers?
A lot of the time it comes down to what is their tax deferment that they're trying to meet. That will set the price point of the boat that they're looking at. And then, of course, it comes down to what kind of boat is needed in a charter fleet. It's not going to necessarily be an owner's version. It's going to be a boat that has more beds and heads, as they say, and more features that are fun, let's say water toys and things like that. Those are the buzz things that a charter guest is looking for, and that's where I'm going to steer them. So what we've seen, the trend in chartering these days is the bigger the boat and the more the cabins. So 6 heads, 6 cabins, so that a group and a family can go out together and enjoy this fun experience. So obviously, you want to look for the reputation of the charter management company that you're putting the boat into. And that's a big one. I would say the most important person in a charter operation is the base manager. You have to trust that base manager. He's going to be the one that is putting his eyes on your asset day in and day out. And from there, it trickles up to the charter management company.
Often I have charter clients that love the experience so much they now want to be a yacht owner. So they come to me and they say, well, hey, I'm thinking about putting a boat or a yacht, a catamaran in charter. What do you recommend? Because based on what I see on a daily basis, I see all the boats when they're booking the most, which fleets are busier, which areas are busier, which times of year. So I can really kind of help them also to figure that out based on just my experience of booking the boats only. Yes, I do agree with the bigger the boat, the better, because you have a lot of people looking for putting a big group on boats. 6 cabin charters, very popular, 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. So yes, the bigger the boat, the better. They book out very quickly.
All great points. And before we dive into those details a little bit more, I'd love to have your guys' thoughts on setting realistic expectations. I'm going to start with you, Amanda. What is the kind of the disclaimer or the conversation that takes place with your buyers who think they're going to invest in a boat? And we hear it a lot.
It's very important that they understand that the boat is a depreciating asset. It is a lifestyle investment. So if you're a person that loves to charter at least 3 or 4 times a year, I would highly recommend that you consider buying a boat and placing it into charter. Because at that point, you are buying an asset that you know that you will use and that you will enjoy. And hopefully that charter income will be able to offset your cost of ownership.
And we touched a little bit about the tax benefits. Again, there's a dedicated episode for this that we are going to recommend you connect with. What about, in terms of breaking even or even making a bit of a profit in the early years? Is that still a possibility? And what is the ultimate goal for these folks?
I think that varies dependent on the owner. A lot of them will say, yes, I just want to break even and I'd love to enjoy this vessel with my family. I would say that's the majority of buyers. They don't think they're going to get rich by owning a yacht, but they do expect to break even. A lot of them are willing to even pay some money to not have their boat chartered as much, but at least get the tax advantage of owning a vessel. So the ultimate goal really comes down to the owner and their expectations. I try to let them know, and Lisa can explain this as well. In the beginning years, your boat may not make as much as it will make in year 2 and 3 because a boat gains a reputation. And you'll find that the same family will come back year after year and want to book the same boat and do that vacation. Have you found that, Lisa?
Absolutely. That's very true. Yes, they definitely come back for the same boat.
It's interesting. I thought that perhaps because the boat is brand new, the first 2 years will be better, but that's not necessarily the case.
Not necessarily. In that first year, when a boat is brand new, I find that it's gaining momentum. And then year 2 and 3 is where you're going to see the highest amount of income. And year 4 and 5, you'll start to see the dip just because people want that new, shiny, fresh boat.
Another thing, too, that I recall is depending upon when the boat is planned to arrive, make sure that the operator has it in the calendar open as soon as realistically possible. Because if you wait until the boat arrives to open it up to book, you're going to miss out on critical weeks of charters that could have been booked way ahead. Lisa, perhaps you can tell us a little bit the trend on how things are looking. I think before COVID, people would book way more in advance than they are now. Is that still happening?
People are definitely booking in advance. I mean, I'm booking charters now into 2027.
What would you say is the average time that a person books out a charter ahead of time?
I think 6 months to a year, but definitely a year is more normal.
How often are you seeing people saying, I want to charter next week on a boat?
Not very often, mostly because I think it's more of getting flights to these destinations. Occasionally you get those and they're surprising, but not very often. Usually they're booking in a year, 6 months to a year in advance.
We've definitely seen the rise in prices for airfare, right? After COVID, for a while,
Yes.
flights were very cheap. And so you could get away with a last minute booking, and it's probably a little bit more difficult now. So thank you for that point. That's very good to know.
And Lisa, for the trends in the different regions, say the Mediterranean versus the Caribbean, what makes someone call it a busy season?
So a busy season is when most people flock to the area. In the Med, for instance, the busy season is definitely July and August. Those are the two heaviest months. When you look at the booking managers for those months, they're booked solid. And the kids are out of school and that. Usually I recommend if you don't have children, you're just going with a group, I recommend June is a great month to go to the Med, and September is one of my favorite months. If you're a seasoned sailor, you might want to wait until October for the winds because you would have a lot better sailing, not as much warmth. It's a little cooler that time of year, but the Med is definitely a beautiful place to go and very busy. And then the Caribbean, of course, the busiest week is Christmas week. They are booked solid today, I can tell you, because I can't find a single boat for a client. And then I would say definitely the winter time. People want to get out of the north and have some nice warm, balmy Caribbean sunshine. And so anything between December and I would say April, because March is very popular as well for spring break.
And Amanda, what does that mean? What does that translate into in terms of number of weeks in your experience working with those various programs that you know? How many weeks of income are we speaking of?
It depends on a fully crewed charter vessel. I think they're shooting for anywhere from 15 to 18 charters per year is a good booking year. In a bareboat charter, they of course try to book a few more than that. Lisa, what would you say?
Weeks, I don't think in terms of weeks as a charter broker because I'm not an owner, but in the Caribbean, they're open year round except for August and September during hurricane season. So you've got all of those months that they would love to fill, and they try very hard.
Another thing, too, to remember is that the duration and the booking window for charters will vary on the Med schedule. It's very often going
Definitely.
to be a Saturday to Saturday booking. In the Caribbean, it's more open. And what that means is you're more likely to have orphan days between bookings or even timings that just don't work for a charter to take place because you're a little bit more constricted. So something to keep in mind, because when you're asking around as a future owner, you kind of want to know those details. So very good to see that the number of weeks, of course, will vary. Amanda, you were talking about earlier about certain operators or certain owners who are not trying to maximize number of weeks. Is that when, as an owner, I would turn perhaps to a boutique operator where I'm just trying to have higher rates on a few given weeks, but not put my boat out at all costs? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it definitely comes down to expectations of the owner. And do they want to maximize the income from this asset, or are they just looking to offset costs? And that really comes down to, am I looking to book 10 charters a year, or am I looking to book out those full 18? And often when you're talking and vetting your charter management company before you choose, you should ask for some kind of pro forma. And if they're inflated and they're higher than 18, beware. Because some of the best charter companies struggle to get in that 15 to 18 booking week window. So be very vigilant when you're looking at these proformas, and we can tell you from our experience whether those proformas are inflated or not.
And again, it comes down to the common sense. If you're looking at a pro forma for the med, as Lisa was saying, you might be very happy to get 12 weeks over those 2 to 3 months that are high season. And the rest of the time, you're limited because of weather and again, kids' vacation and so forth. So obviously, use your judgment, ask a lot of questions, and find out, does this number make sense? And determine from here what you'd like to do as a owner and buyer of a new boat. Or, as we talked about, buying a pre owned boat. Those are also options. I'd love to talk next about location and destination strategy. Lisa, tell us, what are the hotspots for North American charter guests? What do they love most? Where do they travel to charter?
Well, I think the Caribbean is the most popular, backed by the Med. It's funny because there are certain trends with the Med. I find that it was about 2 years ago, everybody was booking Greece. And then now this year, it's looking like I'm seeing a lot of Croatia this year. But I would say the most popular, easiest to get to would be the BVI, the Caribbean, Bahamas. But there are a lot of other islands that are gaining popularity now because people have done that and want to see something new and different.
What are some of those other islands? Is it like St. Martin, Antigua? What are you seeing the trend?
Yep, Saint Martin, Antigua, Grenada, but mostly I'm seeing the Saint Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm hoping to see more boats down there because it's gaining popularity very much. It's not that far from BBI. People are really looking at that location a lot. Very beautiful, from what I understand. I haven't been yet myself, but I'm getting a lot of call for that.
Lisa, just for context, for those of our listeners who may not be familiar with charter rates, can you give us a sense of what a 1 week charter on a sail catamaran, perhaps 45 to 50 feet? I do realize season has a huge impact. Give us an idea of rate here so we know what we're speaking about when we're talking about charter income.
So let's just go with an average boat, kind of that meets all needs. I would call that about a 50-footer. And you got your difference between your bareboat or your crude charter. So I'm going to speak to both of those. The bareboat charter is you're going to sail the boat yourself. You can hire a skipper and a cook separately, a la carte, if you'd like, but they don't live with the boat. They don't come with the boat. You have to add that as an extra. And something like that. Let's say, mid season around April or May, 50-footer, probably 18,000, add crew. Roughly, it can be a little less depending on the boat. So 15 to 18,000 for the boat, and then add crew, which is about $4,000 for a week. On a crude charter, your charter will come with captain and a cook. They live with the boat. They maintain the boat all the time. They come with water toys. You don't have to buy anything extra. You don't have to come with anything in your hand. It's going to come 100% all inclusive. And something like that on a 50-footer is going to start around 25 to 30,000 and could go up depending on the year of the boat, the amount of crew on the boat, and what features it has and where it's located to, of course.
So I could see how somebody who is going on a charter regularly might consider buying the asset and trying to derive potential tax benefits, but it may make sense financially to have your own boat, to do this on a regular basis. I could see that. But it
Mhm.
is a very pricey endeavor to buy a boat still post COVID. We're almost in 2026 and we've seen the cost of boats go up. And so evidently, I'm sure charter rates have also gone up. It's going to be very expensive to get into this kind of hobby if you like chartering. Beware.
But you can also speak to the math and the breakdown of that. If it's a six cabin boat, and this is why we're seeing the trend going to more beds and heads in a vessel, is you take $30,000 and you divide that by six couples. That's a $5,000 a week all inclusive vacation. Honestly, that's not too bad.
No, it's true.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Amanda. What about other destinations? And perhaps, Amanda, you can speak to that because you have been running your own charter operation in Florida. We call it the Florida illusion, that having a boat in charter in Florida will make you thousands upon thousands of dollars every weekend and every week. Why is that not the case?
For me, it came down to the expenses of actually owning a boat, keeping a boat, insuring a boat with the charter insurance on top of it, and then just the berthing between those things. I couldn't charge a day rate that was enough in order to make it make sense. Unfortunately, I did that during COVID, and it was something fun that I did to get out there, and everybody looked into it. But on a long term basis, it is very hard to make money as a day charter captain doing it right and not illegally to do that kind of business just because of the slip fees and the insurance costs and the ownership costs of having a boat.
And I suppose just not a lot of demand, right, Lisa? How often do you get the phone ringing saying, hey, I want to take a week charter in Florida? It's just not going to be as exciting as the islands.
People are looking for a day charter. I've had them ask me about chartering, like out of Miami, going down around the Keys, but usually nothing really pans out. No, it's, in my opinion, it's not worth it. I would definitely stay in the islands or in the Med.
And we discussed a little bit the high spots, right, for the Caribbean. Anything on the front of new trends that you can share with us? What is starting to pop up on your radar, Lisa?
Well, again, we're seeing St. Vincent a lot. And I don't mean to keep bringing that up, but it is coming up in my world a lot. People are asking. And, we see further out destinations. I had someone recently ask me for Tahiti. We see people wanting to go to Seychelles, Maldives, some of these more exotic locations, which are very exciting. Your choices, your charter options are a little bit less, but definitely you can find something there.
And some of these destinations, in fact, are so exotic that getting there could be a little bit challenging. What about closer to the US? Anything new besides St. Vincent that is?
Yeah, there is. There's another one that's popping up a lot is Belize. I have a lot of people asking for that now too. And you have some great charter options. Amanda here can help us with that too. She's got her charter operation out there, as a matter of fact. And I've actually just alerted one of my clients about it. She has some beautiful boats there. So yes, Belize is another new destination that people are looking at because it's very easy to get to.
And Amanda, what's the name of the charter operation in Belize?
It's called Placencia Yacht Charters. And what I'm seeing is when you watch the airlines and where they open up new routes, that will tell you where the destination is starting to open up.
Mhm.
And Spirit Airlines actually just opened up a direct flight from Fort Lauderdale down to Belize. Now, there's been a lot of direct flights from Texas, from Miami through American Airlines and United down to Belize, but just the trend of opening up a direct flight from Fort Lauderdale down to Belize City is really stirring the pot down in Belize, and it's bringing a lot more people there because it's a 2-hour flight. It's not expensive, and you're in this exotic destination. And a lot of people don't know that the second largest barrier reef to Australia is actually on the coast of Belize.
Wow.
How do you get from Belize City to Placencia? Is that pretty easy?
Yeah, once you get to Belize City, you can take a puddle jumper flight on either Maya Airlines or Tropic Airlines. And it's a quick 20-minute flight, and they have flights going every hour, pretty much every day of the week.
Very cool. I have to say, I am not a fan of having to travel to the BVI and using these expensive taxi services or figuring out the ferry. I'm sorry, that's just a pain in the butt. I like the idea of having just one major flight and then that little, jumper flight over. That seems definitely more manageable. It is surprising how difficult it can be to get to these destinations, but super excited to hear that Belize will be more accessible. And definitely check out the different operators. You can look at the reviews online. What I found is that it is difficult to find new, well-equipped boats in these destinations that are a little bit up and coming. And what I do like about the Placencia operation that you started is obviously the caliber of yachts is superior. So those things truly matter. And again, work with a charter broker like Lisa. She will be on the up and up about all these operators, and she can guide you. We're going to discuss next the partners that you would work with when you launch your charter business And with this, it's not going to be a surprise because we've talked about this before. You're first going to start with your tax attorney and, of course, a yacht broker to help you find a boat. That is what we would recommend because we can set up your purchase for success. But the next super important component that we should really pay attention to, the charter operator. How critical is this? And what is the due diligence that we recommend buyers conduct to be well equipped to make the right decision?
Absolutely educate yourself and talk to more than just one. Don't trust the first person you speak to because everybody's going to tell you on why they're the best. I would say talk to current owner operators in their management program. That's a 100% must because you're going to hear it from the actual owner. And someone who's been in this industry for 2 to 3 years can really say, yes, the greatest thing I've ever done, or no, it was fun for my family, but we didn't make much money, and here's why. And they'll give you the nitty gritty. So, besides speaking to current owners, like I said before, trusting your management company and vetting them thoroughly, not to have an inflated pro forma, going down there, actually speaking to some of their captains and crew. Seeing the vibe of the people that work for the charter management company tells you a whole lot. Are they grumpy? Do they seem to have a chip on their shoulder? Or are they just happy to be there with a big smile on their face? That will speak volumes to the guests that are actually coming onto the boats. And you'll be able to feel the ethos of that charter management company.
Also, I'd like to add, confer with your charter broker or a charter broker because they deal with all of the fleets, and so they've been to the bases and they see the condition of the boats, and they could be a great source for you to decide which fleet you're going to use. Another thing to consider would be where your fleet managers who they use for their booking system. As a broker, I go to certain booking systems first because they are more user friendly. They offer more boats, more fleets are using them. The smaller, more antiquated booking systems are the ones I go to last because they're harder to use. I can't hardly
So
see the
that's
boats.
very interesting. I would expect that all charter boats be in one kind of central directory location calendar. No, you have to book around in different places. That's super interesting.
Are you able to name those platforms, Lisa?
Absolutely. So there is Gnosis, which is my number one pick. So I go to them first. Very user friendly. They work with brokers well in making our job easier, so that we can find more boats in one click and be able to send those out easily. The second one is called Booking Manager. Moorings uses them and not as easy to use, but they have a lot of other boats on there as well. I just wanted to mention that's where the Moorings and Sunsail is. A lot of med boats there, not so much BBI, but a lot more of the Mediterranean. And then the last one is called Sedna. Very antiquated, hard to use. I would make sure my boat was not on that system. It's just hard to find boats.
And very importantly, those three that you just mentioned are for bareboat charter bookings.
That's right.
Correct?
I meant to mention Central Yacht Agent, that's a big booking manager. So all of the boats that are crewed only go under the Central Yacht Agent. And that's where we as brokers go to find these beautiful crewed boats with crew that live on the boat and the ones that come all inclusive with the water toys and all of the special effects that they strive so hard to please and do for people.
And since we're talking about now the industry, intel, can you share with us what is then the typical commission rate that a charter broker will earn on the bookings that they make?
So I want to make sure that the yacht owners understand that the fleets pay our commission, not the customer. So it doesn't cost the customer anything. So they're not choosing us based on that. A typical commission standard, industry standard is 15%. Some go as high as 20% in the med, some go as low as 10 to 12, but the industry standard is 15. That's what we look for.
And that's a very fair assessment to ask of your charter manager whether that 15% comes off the top or is part of something that is included in when they give you that pro forma. So it is an interesting thing to understand. And I make sure to very clearly show examples of, okay, this charter is $30,000 for the week, but 15% of that is coming off the top and going to the booking agent.
Lisa, you just mentioned this commission, and Amanda said, hey, make sure you understand where this number is coming off on the pro forma. So what that means is, let's say you have a 15% commission, there's really 85% of that charter rate left to be split between the charter operator and the yacht owner, right? So this is how it works. Got it. So one other thing I wanted to ask Lisa, since we have her here today to kind of share her perspective, is what questions to ask. Can a future owner essentially call you or other charter brokers to get the inside tips on that?
I think that they definitely do. I've been asked in the past. So
Okay.
yes, absolutely. I also think that people need to do good research, go online, review the bases, review the companies, see what's being said out there about those companies and how their fleets are run and how the condition of the boats.
Yeah, I think it's imperative. That's one of the reasons why I say go charter. Go down to the base where you're going to see your asset and look at the other boats in the fleet. Are they well maintained? Are they milky? Are they full of rust? How long has it been since the brightwork was polished? Take a look at the fleet. Those little things are what make a person step on a boat and say, wow, this is really nice. If the stainless is all pitted and it looks like it's got 1,000 layers of salt on it and never been polished, you can get an idea of the service that you're going to get.
Yeah,
I
very
agree.
good point. So, Lisa, one other thing we'd like to know from you is that's probably more on the client side, the charter guest. Why would someone book direct versus book with a broker? What is it that you tell people when they ask you, what should I book with you, Lisa? What do you bring to the table?
I used to work for a booking direct company. So people book direct with me because I worked for one charter company only. Now, of course, as I mentioned, I have access to all the fleets all over the world. I think people book direct because they believe they're going to get a better deal. But that might have been true in the past, but I'm not seeing that anymore. The companies have changed. They all are pretty much sticking to the same discount protocols and not handing out so many discounts like they did, especially after COVID. That made a big difference in the industry, but now things are going back to the way they were. Using a broker has a lot of benefits. For one, it costs you nothing extra as the client. As brokers, we know the boats out there. We're familiar with them. If we've had a client that had a bad experience on a boat, we remember that boat. So we make sure not to put you on that boat. If you booked that boat direct, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to put you on the boat and you'll find out later. So that's another great reason to use a broker. You have better protection in contracts. We use specific contracts for especially crude boats. And so you're protected for that reason. And we look out for your best interest. And we're also your advocate in case anything goes wrong. We handle problem solving and support. And brokers tailor you to the perfect match boat so that you tell us what you're looking for. You expect and want a certain experience. If you have a special occasion like an anniversary or a big birthday or something special, we can make sure that you get that experience and we match you to the right boat for that experience. Again, we have access to a wider fleet and we make sure that we use companies that follow industry standards and quality control.
Yeah, all very important. You had mentioned earlier that you are a better advocate in general for the clients. What are some of the things that can happen when something isn't exactly perfect through a charter? Do they work with you then directly to address follow ups on that? Whether they need, I don't know, either a substitution if that's early on or potentially a compensation?
I'm seeing a lot, not a lot. I'm seeing some complaints out there in the World Wide Web of clients that are having issues with fleets and then not getting any kind of restitution. I'm always willing to step in, talk with the company, see what I can get for them, and I'm almost 99.5% successful. I'm a strong believer in customer service, so I try my best to get people some type of restitution, something. If it even means like a 50% off a charter next year. You might not get money back, but I can get you something definitely. So, yes, if something goes wrong, you have bad crew, I can replace your crew right away in the middle of your charter if I have to, because I will stand up and I'll do that for you.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for this. It's terrific. And in our final segment, I'd like to talk about the pitfalls to avoid, especially with bareboat charters. In fact, we're going to have a separate episode soon with a boutique charter operator and owner to address the very crucial piece of the market that is dedicated to crude yachts. If we address bareboat charters now, can you tell us some of the things that you have learned, errors you've seen made that should not be replicated in regards to your experience or experience of your clients?
That's a really great question, Marilyn. To be truly a bareboat charter, you're supposed to be given options of who those captains are. A lot of the time, you'll just be told, here's your captain. And that's really not a true bareboat charter. So be very careful about that. And then the competition is, how do you stand out in a sea of 1,000 boats? That's a big one. And make sure that those extras that are advertised are really there and on the boat.
Perhaps Lisa has examples she can share with us because she would see those from her clients and what is in demand. What can you tell us?
There are certain boats that I'll recommend over others based on what they have on the boat. So, for instance, things like Starlink, people are looking for that now. And I had a boat once that had a water filtration system on the kitchen sink, so people didn't have to buy so much bottled water and throw away so much plastic, which, these days people love that. I know I do. And some people are asking for solar now. I think that you're seeing, as a boat owner myself, I'm seeing a lot more boats with solar on them out there in the water when we're out boating. So I think that that's another one that people like to, save money. Don't have to run the generator. It's a quieter evening. When you're out there sailing, you want to enjoy the peace and quiet.
Yeah. Also, the hydraulic swim platform. That can be really fun when you're out and you're actually scuba diving and sailing and you have someone who can't climb up that ladder, but they can be lifted up onto that hydraulic platform and then
Yes,
step off. So those are just some of the extras.
absolutely.
Back to the operator, I wanted to add one other thing, which is the turnover between yachts. Perhaps, Lisa, you can speak to that. When you evaluate an operator as a counsel for a charter guest, or as we turn to clients that are looking to buy a boat in charter, that is something that comes up a lot. Can you tell us why the turnover between charters is such a critical metric and something to pay attention to?
So that's it's sticky because people want to get on the boat when they want to get on the boat, but then the charter operator, they have to make sure the boat's ready. If you don't have enough time in between, then the boat might not be clean enough. It might not be quite right. And then that's when you start seeing dirt in corners and things that might turn you off when you get on a boat. So as much as I love being able to get a boat back out there on the water, I do start looking for boats that have at least a 24-hour turnover to get that boat prepared and ready for the client so that they are happy when they get on the boat, because first impressions are everything.
Absolutely. And you see
Mhm.
that there is always maintenance that needs to be done on these boats. And if they don't have at least 24 hours in between, it is really tough. Trust me,
Absolutely.
I felt the pull of wanting to put it right back out when people's schedules ask for that, but it really is taxing. And that is important when it comes down to look at the charter base in general and all of the workers. That will show you a lot.
True. That's right.
Wow. Thank you, Amanda and Lisa. So much knowledge packed here in barely half an hour. What is your final advice for aspiring yacht buyers looking to start their charter business?
I would say definitely when you're looking to place a boat, when you're choosing your boat, don't skimp on the extras. Put the curtains in there, add a water maker, make sure air conditioning is in every room of the boat, not just the bedrooms. Add this hydraulic swim platform, add the hardtop. All of those things matter when people are choosing a boat. And I think that it will get your boat out there before other boats when it's placed in a fleet.
Very good advice. Love that. And Amanda, what's yours? What's your final word of wisdom here?
I would say go see the specific charter operation and the base. Look at the vessels at that base, see the staff, meet the staff, and look at the other vessels.
Terrific advice. Thank you both. We're going to put Lisa's contact info down in the comments below for this show. You can find her at Elite Catamaran Charters. If you're looking to book a charter, you'll be in great hands. You have a great advocate by your side. Thanks again for watching Full Displacement, and we'll see you on the next episode. Fair winds.
Fair
Thank
wind.
you. Bye.